Welcome to your narrated action verb guide, brought to you by Solutions Equinox Training Solutions. My name is Phil Church and I shall be your narrator and guide. This narrated action verb guide has been brought to you by Solutions Equinox, aligning your training needs, and the Sets channel. Visit and subscribe to our online YouTube channel for more learning videos. It is important to understand action verbs when completing qualification assignments. Think of action verbs as the instruction within an assignment question. Before attempting to write your answer to a question, ensure you understand what the action verb is asking you to do. In doing so, you negate the risk of not meeting the assessed criteria of a question or assignment unit. Action verbs and their meaning. Account for. Give reasons for. To tell a narrative about someone or something to someone. To recount information about someone or something to one. Analyze. What makes this work the way it does? Its definition is to examine something in detail, to discover or determine the meaning or essential features and draw conclusions, to break something down into its components or essential features, and to identify possible causation and or draw conclusions. And it's worth remembering that analysis is not solely confined to data. Argue. Put the case for or against a view or idea, giving evidence for your claims and reasons for or against. Attempt to influence the reader to accept your view. Balance. Look at two or more viewpoints or pieces of information. Give each equal attention. Look at good and bad points, and take into account many aspects and give an appropriate weighting to those aspects. Be critical. Identify what is good and bad about the information and why. Probe, question, identify inaccuracies or shortcomings in the information. Estimate the value of the material. How valid and relevant are the ideas and information that you are using? To be critical means that you are required to make judgments about the validity or relevance of the ideas and information you are using, and explore their meaning and demonstrate understanding of the topic from different perspectives and theoretical frameworks. Clarify. Identify the components of an issue, topic, problem, and make the meaning plain, removing misunderstandings, so it's less confused and more comprehensible. Compare. Look for similarities and differences between. Perhaps conclude which is preferable and implies evaluation. How does this relate to that? Used with two or more examples and requires a description of their relative features, effectiveness or outcomes. Context and variation determines the level of cognition involved. Conclude. Draw conclusions. Arrive at a judgment or opinion by reasoning. Why is this my decision? Decide by reasoning, and this may link back to an initial hypothesis or argument. The endpoint of your critical thinking. What the results of an investigation indicate. Arrive at a judgment by reasoning. Contrast. Bring out the differences. How good is this compared to that? Used with two or more examples, make some assessment of their relative features, effectiveness, or outcomes. By definition, this is more demanding than to compare, and the factors which determine the level for compare also apply. Criticise. Give your judgment on theories or opinions or facts and back this by discussing evidence or reasoning involved. How valid and relevant are the ideas and information that you are using? To be critical means that you are required to make judgments about the validity or relevance of the ideas and information you are using, to explore their meaning and to demonstrate understanding of the topic from different perspectives and theoretical frameworks. Deduce. To conclude, infer. So arrive at a fact or a conclusion by reasoning. Draw as a logical conclusion. So to derive as a conclusion from something known or assumed. Define. Give the precise meaning. Examine the different possible or often used definitions. What exactly does it mean? Demonstrate. Show clearly by giving proof or evidence. Describe. Give a detailed, full account of the topic. What does it look like? An account of the principal features of the topic involves some element of selection of the more important features. Again, context and possible variation is significant, as is the degree of detail required in the description. Determine. Find out something. Calculate. What is the scope? What have I found out? And it's to conclude after your observations or considerations. Develop an opinion, a view. Make up your mind and decide what you think about something and have your opinion about it. Decide what you think based on an argument or evidence. Discuss. Investigate or examine by argument. Debate. Give reason for and against. Examine the implications of the topic. What are both sides of the argument? Talk or write about the topic in detail, considering different issues or ideas. To consider or examine by argument, comment, and consider and argue the pros and cons of something. Elucidate. Explain and make clear. Put some light on the subject and show it plain and simple. Estimate, calculate. Judge and predict. Judge and predict the outcomes as to what you believe or think will happen, having weighed up all of your evidence, facts and figures. Evaluate. Weigh up. How well does each part of this work and what needs to be done to make it work better? An evaluation is an examination of complex issues requiring higher level cognitive skills that is more focused, a narrower area but in more detail than what a review is. An evaluation is normally detailed and provides a solution or conclusion and/or a recommendation, perhaps for further exploration. An evaluation could include a comparative element and will ascertain the usefulness or contribution of each part to the whole. Appraise. The worth of something in the light of its truth or usefulness. Assess and explain. Does this seem to work to the required standard? Less detailed but broader and more comprehensive than an assessment. Looking at the whole and making judgments. Appraisal in its broader sense requires a judgment about the subject, identifying its strengths and weaknesses and/or how well something or someone performs in a context. Appraisal is more subjective than an evaluation, although it will refer to appropriate criteria. Examine. Look at carefully and consider. What can you find out about it? Examine is about exploring a topic in some detail, identifying positive and negative features of the topic, without necessarily drawing conclusions and making judgments. An examination could be used to inform decision making. It will probably not be conclusive. The degree of detail and the context in which the examination takes place will determine the level. Explain. Make it plain and clear and give your reasons for it. How does it work? And this involves some description of a topic with an account of the practices or uses associated with the topic or characteristics of the topic. It may also imply some reasons for those practices depending on context. Again, the level of cognitive skill involved will depend on the complexity of the subject matter. Give evidence. Provide evidence from your own work or that of others, which could be checked by a third party to prove or justify what you say. Identify. Point out and describe. What are they? And this involves some selection of subject matter from a larger set or context, and it requires the ability to recognise. The level of cognitive skill required depends on the context and the degree of variation in the set from which the identified elements are being drawn. Identify trends. Identify patterns, changes, movements in certain directions, for example over time or across topics and subjects. Illustrate, explain. Clarify, make clear by the use of concrete examples. Infer and conclude. Something from facts or reasoning. Interpret, expound. The meaning, make it clear and explicit, giving your own judgment. Justify, show. Adequate grounds for decisions, a particular view or conclusions, and answer main objections likely to be made to them. Why do it? Present an argument for an action or choice, and this will usually imply some form of assessment or analysis and may be linked with one or other action. Outline. Give a short description of the main points. Give the main features or general principles. Emphasize the structure, leaving out minor details. So what are the main features? To give a general idea and an overview without going into too much detail. Prove. Show that something is true or certain and provide strong evidence and examples for it. Review. Make a survey examining the subject carefully, similar to Summarise and Evaluate. Overall, how well does this work and what may need to be done about it? Making a judgment about a topic which relies upon a combination of evidence and theoretical models, construct or practice. A review is a snapshot of an activity that has breadth and will focus more overall. A review may well lead onto detailed further exploration and or recommendations for further actions. State. Present it in a brief, clear form with your opinions and your considerations. Summarise. Give a concise account of the chief points of a matter, removing unnecessary detail. Synthesize. Bring elements together to make a complex whole. Draw together or integrate issues. For example, theories or models can be created by synthesizing a number of elements. And finally, trace. Follow the development of a topic from its very origin. Thank you for listening. If you'd like a free copy of these action verbs and more, why not email us at info@solutionsequinox.com and make your subject heading Action Verb Guide. Why not subscribe to our online learning channel and check out our other free videos.